Stay away from adultery. Don't think no one knows. The law of heaven is clear. Confused. Many choices in life seem to be about the present moment. No one knows behind closed doors. I thought I would leave no trace. We often say it doesn't matter. I thought that as long as the consequences are not dangerous, I can handle it with care. Especially on the line between emotion and desire. It's easier to convince yourself that it's just a private matter. It doesn't hurt anybody, it doesn't affect anything. But the real turning point in life? It often begins with these silent moments. The ones we thought we could pass easily. In fact, it has long been quietly precipitated into the foreshadowing of fate. The cause and effect of Buddhism, never a tool to scare people. Not waiting. A punishment that suddenly appears when something goes wrong. He is more of an order. A silent but precise way of working. Every thought, every choice and indulgence will leave traces in life. Some traces are not immediately apparent, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. The reason why the law of heaven is awe-inspiring, just because he is not public, but never miss. Talk about adultery. Many people think of it for the first time, often just some obvious physical behavior. But in the Buddhist understanding, lust is never just the act itself. It's about the dislocation of the relationship. He's referring to anyone who destroys someone else's family, trample on promises, the act of using emotions to consume body and mind. Whether it is knowing that the other party has belonged, still insist on intervening, or break promises in a relationship. Addicted to excitement and freshness. Even using others as emotional outlets. With desire tools, they're outside the realm of legitimate relations. In modern society, homophonic forms become more subtle. It's easier to rationalize. Ambiguity is said to be just chatting. Betrayal is packaged as an emotional need. Addiction is interpreted as too much stress. People are used to saying all kinds of things. Reduce weight for your actions. But rarely actually face a fact. When a relationship is established upon expiration, when accounting for consumption, cause and effect have actually started to work. It doesn't start until it's exposed. But in that, when the idea of reducing people to tools arose, the result has been planted. Many people don't understand, why does good remind the harmonic so repeatedly? The harm of sound. Even consider him as one of the most vulnerable behaviors to damage. The reason is not that he is irritating. It's about his consumability. What it takes to make a homophonic sound is not a fleeting experience. It is the stability of a person's overall life. The blessing of Buddhism. It's never just about money or status. It's a composite state. Is the interpersonal relationship smooth? Is your heart stable? Is it easy to do things? Is there a noble person in trouble? These are all part of the blessing. The reason why adultery is convinced. The first is that he undermines morality. When a person seeks to satisfy himself, undermining the stability and trust of others, the damage won't go away because of secrecy. Secondly, he will be kind. Long-term deception and greed. The heart is inevitably restless. Fear of losing and exposure. The mind is in a state of pulling for a long time. Eventually, he will mess up. Indulge in desire. It's easy to impair judgment. They're short-sighted in their decisions. Ignore the long-term consequences. It adds up. It often makes a person's life. It starts to go downhill without realizing it. Many troubles in life. It wasn't a sudden blow. It's a road that's already cracked. It's just that people often only see the final result, but ignore the initial deviation. The ancients saw this very clearly. Therefore, whether it is the world, officials or practitioners, are extremely cautious with Sid. In a large number of Ming and Qing handwriting and historical materials, you see the timber often. Those who have a bright future ahead of them. Often not due to lack of ability. It's a private defeat. For example, Tang Yin, a genius of the Ming dynasty, early talent, but for being involved in the imperial examination, although not formally directly associated with the merry and indulgent people. But for the rest of his life, he was cut off, down and out. It is often cited by later generations as a sword that hurts the body. At the same time, official Zhu Jing was also implicated in similar disturbances. Bring shame to the family. Devotion destroyed. The reason why these records are repeated. It's not for curiosity. It's because they looked at long-term outcomes, rather than a passing pleasure. What they see is, after a person indulges himself in desire, often affects character judgment and people's track. Finally, the whole life trajectory is shifted. It doesn't have to happen immediately. But once you start, rarely without a price. The scariest place to commit adultery. It's not just about concrete consequences. It's that he gradually erodes one's self-control and reverence. At first, it's just a fluke. It doesn't matter if it happens once in a while. Actions become habits. Habit gradually becomes a matter of course. In the end, people will even pay for their own actions. Find various reasons. I feel that it is forced by the environment, is an emotional need. Life is helpless. When this mental path is completed, boundary discrimination has long since collapsed. Once you lose your awe of desire, other boundaries are also difficult to maintain. The focus on commitment goes down. Respect for others can be contested. It dulls awareness of the consequences. These seemingly unrelated small changes. Eventually, at some point in life, a price that is hard to ignore. Just this price. They don't do it in a dramatic way. It unfolds in lost forms. Heaven is never too late. He doesn't need to give an answer right away. We don't create fear. But he was also never absent. Many things have no impact at the moment. But over time the truth will gradually be revealed. The so-called don't think no one knows. It's not the external eye. But all of this, it has long been recorded by life itself. Many people reach middle and old age. I vaguely feel some shortcomings. Can't tell why. Why are relationships difficult to maintain? Why are families always upset? Why is the heart never close? These seemingly unrelated losses. Often not by chance. But there is a reason. When someone is willing to stop, re-examine where these causes and effects come from. Only then will you discover the truly profound impact on life. It's never a mistake that was discovered once. It's the choice that doesn't leave a trace. However, the emergence of cause and effect, often not sudden lightning and thunder. It's like a drop of water through a stone. In the long years, little by little, change the texture of life. When we only worry, will there be great retribution? But ignore the daily, those things that are quietly lost. Trust peace of mind, the warm connection between people. These losses seem minor, but it is enough to gradually loosen the foundation of life. What really makes people go downhill? Often not some earth-shattering disaster. It's a series of seemingly small details, but the cumulative loss. A lot of people talk about the UK. The first reaction is always to worry. Will something big happen? Will there be a sudden blow? However, in most cases, the UK didn't show up in a dramatic way. He appears more often. Something that was originally owned thins slowly, fades and becomes no longer stable. And people were confused. Why do relationships always struggle to last? Nothing big went wrong. Relationships don't always go to the end. Why is the family atmosphere always uneasy? Lack of trust and belonging to each other. Why come to the end of life? Fewer and fewer people around. The heart is getting emptier and emptier. These questions, very few people immediately think of it. Past personal morality and choices. But that's the way the UK works. Slow and precise. He doesn't wake people up with heavy blows. It's about weakening and making people suffer the consequences over time. In real life, the influence of homophonics first appearing, it's often emotional. When a person is used to hiding in a relationship, when wandering boundaries or interacting with desire-led, it's hard to build true security inside. Even in a seemingly stable relationship, suspicion and unease can also breed quietly. A word from the other party, a single action can provoke unwanted associations. Over time, emotions become tense. Trust is hard to build. Even if barely maintained, it's hard to be really stable. Then affect it. It is often the overall atmosphere of the family. A family is supposed to be a place to let down your defenses. But when a person's heart is divided for a long time, externally complete, it is also difficult to form true stability. Significant others easily feel disrespected. Children can also feel that indescribable unease. Home is no longer like home. It's more like a suspended space. People can't find a sense of belonging in it. The heart is naturally difficult to settle down. The impact of adultery on life, it doesn't stop at the emotional level. He can also quietly change a person's judgment. Once desire takes hold, they tend to be short-sighted. People are prone to immediate satisfaction. Ignore the long-term consequences. Many of the achievements that had been accumulated over the years can quickly disintegrate due to this inappropriate choice. This is not due to a lack of ability. It's because the center of gravity has shifted. Beware of being led away. Reason doesn't work. Long-term addiction to desire and excitement. It's also mentally draining. The damage appears on the surface. Life seems to be okay. But I often feel tired and empty inside. This exhaustion does not come from exhaustion. It's a state of difficulty to calm down. Maybe you can cover it up with busyness during the day. In the dead of night, the inner unease is particularly obvious. People start to avoid being alone, but afraid of true intimacy. So you get stuck in a cycle of dilemma. These effects, it may not be easy to detect at a young age. People always feel that there is a lot of time. I think it's okay to talk about it another day. But later in life, these cumulative consequences gradually emerge. Relationships become alienated, really willing to trust. Fewer and fewer people are willing to approach. Only then did I realize, it's not just feelings that were overdrawn in the past. It's about trust. When I was young, I thought it was okay. In old age, it becomes an irreparable gap. Review history. You can also see similar trajectories. Many ancient officials or people, early in life tends to go well. Talent and opportunity are formidable. However, after side failed, fate took a turn for the worse. Like a famous official in the Qing dynasty, early wisdom and diligence, appreciated by Emperor Qinlong, power over time. But he was greedy and lustful in the later stage, indulge in oblivion. Not only do they use power to seize women, domesticated wives and concubines, more power-based trading, partisanship. In the end, he was killed by a raider during the Joqing period. Interpretation and wealth accumulated over a lifetime vanished in an instant. Tang Dynasty Prime Minister Yuan Zhi is similar, clean and promising early years. But after taking power, he indulged in extravagant servitude. He was finally killed for corruption and corruption. These changes are not accidental. It's not a single event. It's the cumulative inevitability of a series of choices. The ancients therefore repeatedly reminded future generations, self-cultivation, the key. Family must first safeguard private morality, because that is the foundation of all stability. Buddhism talks about cause and effect. It's not that people are addicted to go wrong. It reminds everyone that paths can be fixed. Cause and effect are worthy of respect. And because he's not static. As long as Ken stops, it stops consuming. The blessing has the possibility of reaccumulation. Many people are not without happiness. It's a long-term loss of happiness through loopholes. When the loophole is caught, life will naturally kiss back slowly. True abstinence. It's not an extreme repression of desire. It's not about forcing yourself to become an ascetic. It's all about turning. Turn to respect for others. Instead of possessing, move towards cherishing relationships. Rather than consuming emotions, shift to protect your inner nation. Rather than being led by thoughts. When people are willing to reduce the stimulation that makes the heart float, willing to invest in creating, undertaking and growing, desire naturally finds a healthier outlet. When relationships are revisited, from temporary gratification to long-term commitment, the center of gravity of life will also be adjusted accordingly. This is the transformation. Doesn't necessarily bring immediate obvious good luck, but it saves you a lot of detours. Once the heart is at peace, the judgment will become clear. Once virtue is thick, people naturally come back slowly. The good news is not a sudden surge, but after the churn stops, gradually appear as it should be. The law of heaven is clear, never used to punish people. He is more like a reminder mirror. Make it clear which options are paving the way for the future. The stability of life does not come from luck. It comes from every respect for boundaries. From today onwards, hold a line that should not be crossed. Seemingly small, but it can change the course of your entire life. Because truly profound stability, it's never given from the outside. It comes from the heart and is worthy of people. It is also worthy of its own solidity.